Hey Robin, I'm so excited to meet with you today. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I enjoy talking to you as well. So I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, yeah, me too. And I want to dig right in and I want to get an overview from you right now just because I want to catch up with you. And then we'll just dig into some questions about how life was like before drop diabetes, how I've been able to help. So, first, just give me kind of an overview of where you were at before and where you
Mhm.
are now with your numbers.
Well, about 3 years ago, I was diagnosed with diabetes. And back then, I was just inching over the line. And so I had like a 6.5 or 6 or something like that. And I wanted to lower everything without medication. And I agreed, or my doctor agreed with me. And
Mhm.
she gave me 3 months to try to do that. And I went to her dietitian and I thought, okay, I'm going to get a plan. And it was the biggest, it was just a huge disappointment. I came home not having a clue what to do. I just got a pamphlet, and most of the appointment was actually spent teaching me how to use the glucose monitor. So I felt like I was totally on my own. So after researching on the internet, I came up with keto looked like a good plan and intermittent fasting looked like a good plan. So together I put those together, and man, I got my blood sugars down and my A1C down really quick. And at my 3 month checkup, I was, in remission, and my doctor was ecstatic. But then I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and the next 12 months was just basically consumed with that. And I let that strict keto diet kind of slide. I wasn't feeling good on it anyway. I just felt horrible. And I had the shakes. My heart felt like it was just pounding out of my chest sometimes. And yet my numbers were good. So I thought, okay. But anyway, I started letting that slide, and it was very obvious that it was a quick fix. It wasn't anything I could live with. And so um, kind of ignored my diabetes, which I know was a huge, huge mistake. And then I got a letter in the mail saying it was time to come in for another A1C check. And I thought, ooh, this isn't going to be good. I thought I probably went right back to square one. And so I checked it, and I just got the shock of my life when my number was 310. And I thought I was just going to go back to my old diabetic numbers. And when I saw 310, I just broke out in a sweat like, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? And my doctor's never going to let me try again without medication, which I was so adamant that I didn't want. I know medication's great, but for some reason, I just was so afraid to go on it. So I thought, I got to fix this fast. And I got on the internet again, and that's when I found you. And it is just like the best thing that's ever happened to me. And um, my A1C was 9.6 at that point, and my numbers were off the charts. And in 3 months, you got me down to 6.1. I mean, it's just a miracle. And I hadn't taken any medications at all. And so when I went into the doctor, she didn't know all this other stuff. And I know you should play around with your body like that. But I was so afraid to go on meds. And it turned out for me. I'm not saying it's going to turn out for everyone like that, but I am so, so grateful you've given me my life back. And I feel great. I mean, I felt horrible on keto. I felt horrible on intermittent fasting. I feel I've got a new grasp on life, and I enjoy it. So that's where I'm at.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. And I know it was a really big change for you, but also with the numbers, but also the lifestyle. I remember back when you started, it was really soon after you started that you had gone on this big family vacation. It was like an
Yes.
extended one.
Right.
And you had told me that when you got back that you felt so good about not having people have to worry about you or adapt to your
Right.
needs dietary wise, and that your numbers were great and that you were feeling good in the social setting too.
Oh, absolutely. I couldn't believe it. I'm looking at your program, and yeah, it's overwhelming a little bit because, any kind of change can be
Mm-hmm.
overwhelming. And part of it, I think I set myself up to, well, every diet, it felt like it was so hard. So I thought this was going to be hard. But once I worked with you, you set up my plan, and we worked on what worked for me and what didn't. And you were always right there. I mean, if I needed something, I could ask you, or I could jump on a call and ask you, or, you know, hear an answer from another member on the call. And I just remember being on this trip, and my whole family was there. I have 3 daughters, and their kids were there, and they're like, Mom, you can eat this? You know, you're having some pasta, or you're having rice with us, or whatever. And I mean, I didn't have a lot, but I could participate, and I didn't feel like I was an outliner in everything. And that just made it so doable. And they love the meals. I mean, my husband to this day has no problems eating the way I eat, because it's very normal. And I think it benefits everyone to eat like this. I really do. So, and I think you're the example. I see you on, you know, Instagram and in talking, and I can see you eat like this too. And it's just a healthy way for us all to eat. And I think we should all kind of take these steps. So
Yeah.
vacation, it was no problem. And I have a really good friend that she's been saying, Robin, you look so good. You're just so full of energy and everything. What's going on? And I used to be embarrassed by the fact that I had diabetes. And so I never told anybody. And I just, because I feel like I've managed it, I said, you know, I have diabetes and I didn't feel good before, but now I do. There's a huge difference. And I went into my plan and everything. And then a few months later, she texted me. She said, hey, my husband's been diagnosed with diabetes. What do I do? And I told her about your program. And she said, well, his doctor put him on metformin, and he's got to travel. There's just no way he could do this. And I'm thinking, yeah, he could. He really could. And I tried to just, you know, tell her that. But there's so many people that would just rather take the medication and not make any changes. And they kind of just keep creeping up and up and up. And I didn't want that to happen. And I know it's not going to happen when I do this plan. So it's like, how many diets have we tried that have just not worked out? And, you know, I might have bought a book or, you know, whatever. And that was my investment into that diet. Or even Weight Watchers. I mean, it's not cheap, but it's still more. But then when you weigh that against what you, like that office visit, it's just like, well, if your diabetes gets so bad, then because you're not managing it, I mean, what are those bills going to be? It's just, it could be astronomical. So anyway, plus that doesn't even, you know, address the issue of what it's doing to your body to let it go like that. So,
and how you feel and how your body, how your day-to-day is impacted. And
exactly.
I know you mentioned earlier, like, it can be overwhelming to start something new. It can be overwhelming to make any sort of changes. And I know you also said you've done a lot of like hard diets in the past that just felt difficult in your life. Do you feel like we were able to make that a little more simple or help you through that process?
Yeah, absolutely. I've done Weight Watchers. And then when I was pre-diabetic, you know, she didn't put me on any kind of medication, which is kind of unusual because a lot of your members are put on metformin almost immediately. She didn't do that. She really didn't even make an issue of it at all. She just said, hey, you know, maybe just watch your diet and add some exercise. And so I started doing all these, you know, all these books that you see at Barnes and Noble and that, diet books, and very healthy ones, you know, most of them are low carb and eating whole foods and eating very naturally. And a lot of them, and I think this is where I got in my head that I didn't want a medication. A lot of them said, if you eat like this, you know, don't take medication, blah, blah, blah. And so I think that's where I got that mindset. You know, I can do this on my own without medication. But none of them lasted at all. You know, they would have you take different supplements and you know, that cost would add up and, you know, on and on and on. And so this is just so simple. I still can't get over it. I've made changes, but instead of taking away from what I should be eating, you're constantly reminding me to add, and that has never happened in a diet before, and it works. And I just would say, if anyone would start this program, just trust the process. You know what you're doing. You've been there, and your brain might be saying this is just totally opposite of what I would expect. But trust Megan, because she knows what she's doing, and it will work. It will work. So, yeah.
Yeah. So describe what you are doing now after drop diabetes and how that's been affecting your life overall as well as your numbers.
Okay. Well, one thing, I have, added exercise, and I've told you this before, I do not like exercise. I have never enjoyed exercise. And when you feel better, it's so much easier to get up and go out and exercise. And I started with walking, and what made it so fun, and I wasted so many test strips because I would take my number before I go walking, and I'd come back 30 minutes later, and my numbers would drop 30, 40 points, just like that. And it would just be so fun to keep doing that. Sometimes it'd be 20 or whatever, but it's like, wow, it's just immediate. You see that change. And then, so I enjoyed walking, and I do it every day. And you don't have to go on any crazy long walks or anything like that. Just get out there. And then you stressed strength training, which is something I just never really got into, and that's been enjoyable. And you don't just say, I'd like you to, work in resistance, workouts and that kind of thing. You tell us why. You tell us how, when we work out like that, we don't just burn calories while we're doing the workout. We continue to burn calories after that kind of a workout, which is kind of cool. So I enjoyed that. And so exercise has been great. We've started biking, and I've discovered places. We live in Minnesota and along the Mississippi River, and we have a lot of bike trails, and I've discovered areas almost right in my backyard that I never knew existed, and they're just amazing. And I come home, and I've spent the last hour watching eagles up in the sky, things that I've just never, it's been opened up a whole new world. So I enjoy exercise, and I never would have said that before. And other things that have changed in my life, people notice that I'm feeling better. My kids are like, you get down and you play with the grandkids so much more than you used to. And I love my grandkids, but I would rather have read a book to them in the chair or something like that. And now I'm just rolling around on the floor with them. We're going to the park. We're doing things, and and they love it, and so do I. So it's just impacted a lot of different things in my life, and that's been great.
Yeah, absolutely. And would you say if someone was, I guess, what would you say if someone was thinking about doing drop diabetes, but they weren't sure, or maybe they're nervous that, they've tried a lot of things in the past that haven't worked for them, or maybe they're even just scared to make an investment in themselves? What would you say to somebody who was thinking that?
I would say, in one of my Google searches, one of the sayings I read was, if you don't deal with your health and your nutrition and that now, you're going to be forced to do it in the future. And I just feel like with a diagnosis like diabetes, I just can't think of anything that fits more than that, because I did that. I thought, okay, I got my numbers under control. I can worry about something else and forget about it. And it came back with a vengeance, and it's not going to go away. This is something that's going to be a lifelong issue, and I need to learn how to handle it. And I don't ever want to be back in that position where I saw a number of 310 and just panicked and had no idea what to do, because you can't change something like that, in a day or two. And so everything's going to change in your life when you start this. And the other thing is, it can be a little scary, like I said, to try something new, but you are with us absolutely every step of the way. Absolutely. I mean, I am not a techie person, and I think the first week you spent all your time just helping me navigate your site. And not that it was all that complicated, but to me it was.
Yeah.
And I just thought, oh, this is not what she signed up for. She's here to help me, with my diabetes, not to figure out how to, work her site. But anyway, but you were there. You are just like the most patient, most dedicated person that I could ever imagine. And to have you right there at my fingertips. I mean, no one, you couldn't call your doctor and ask them the number of questions that, I've asked you. And you're there, and I can ask you questions. I can send you a question. I can get on one of your group, community group chats or meetings during the week, and you have 3 of them. I mean, you make it so available for everyone, and it's just amazing to have you right there. And I will ask everything, or I will discuss, what went on during my week, and you will always ask, is there anything else that, you would like to ask? And it's just like, wow. I mean, you really do. And the joy you get on your face when you hear that someone's had a success, it just says it all. Really, it does. And you care, because you can have someone that has all the knowledge in the world, but if they don't care, it just is a puzzle piece that's just missing. And I just feel like your program has it all. And even though I think it's perfect, I think you've developed the perfect program, you're always improving on it. Always. And the other thing is, it's just not a one-way street with you. Sometimes we're on calls and we might say, hey, Megan, maybe if you would do this or that, maybe that would help us or whatever. And you'd say, oh, you know what? That's a really good idea. And by the next day, you've implemented it. I mean, it's just like, if it's an improvement that you see would help, I mean, you really do take our opinions and you value them too. And I appreciate that as well. So
yeah.
Anyway.
Oh, I appreciate that. I do find so much joy in the wins, the A1C drops, but also the little wins. I think it's important to have support at a high level to succeed, but really remember in those little times and the big times, we want to make sure that we're celebrating that. And I do get so much joy from your wins. And it's great to be here with you every step of the way, because we started at 9.6, right?
Yep.
3 months down to 6.1. So obviously fantastic, huge win. But now you're at 5.6. And that is so exciting. That's telling me that this is something that has been completely sustainable for you. And that's part of what sets drop diabetes apart, and what I always strive for is that high level of support, but also really personalizing it. Do you feel like that's a big part of why you've had that result?
Absolutely. Like I said, when I went to the dietitian, she just handed me a brochure that she hands to everyone. And you're kind of on your own after that. It tells you certain things, but like you personalize it, but then you don't stop there. It's like, okay, this is where we're going to start, and this is where I think you're going to do best, but not everybody's the same. And you tell us that. It's like, okay, if this doesn't work, let me know, and we'll tweak it. And I was never afraid to come to you and say, hey, this isn't really working. Is there something else we can do? And the pieces all start falling together. And even though my A1C is really good, I still deal with a few issues with my morning numbers. And yet you've taught us how, I never knew this before, but I always thought our blood sugars were affected by what we ate, but you've taught us how our hormone levels have a big part of all this, and stress and lack of sleep. And there's so many things that will affect that blood sugar number. So when you think, I can't figure out why my number's higher. I've eaten perfectly, all week or whatever. Well, it might have something to do with some of those other factors, and that's life. And you've taught us to do our best to, just go for a walk and do this or do that, and it helps. And also your lessons, they're just so informative, and I just so appreciate understanding my disease, and you don't dummy it down to like, a third grade level or anything, but you explain it so that it's very easy to understand why we have this condition and how eating the way we are will help change that. And you make it so easy to follow by teaching us how to meal plan. And you have recipes and your lessons. I mean, they just really dive into everything we should, do for success. And yet you don't dump it all on us at once. I like how you, release those a little at a time, because I probably would have stayed up all night and tried to read everything, and then I would have been totally overwhelmed. But you kind of like let it go little by little, and then let that sink in, and then we go to the next lesson and the next, and that's part of your build plan. And I really think that works. And I don't know, I didn't know if I would like the group calls, because honestly, it was my least favorite part of Weight Watchers. I didn't like the meetings. But these group calls are amazing, and these people almost become family, and I've told you that. And you really care about what happens with these people, and I see you caring, and when they ask questions, it's like, oh, that's a really good question. I never thought of that. And other people will have suggestions on recipes, or I know one person, I was complaining, it really hurts when I prick my finger, and she said, try pricking the side of your fingertip, and it doesn't hurt as much. And it's been awesome. It was a little change, but it has made a big difference. So little things like that. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I know it can be challenging. Some people don't think they'll like the group aspect. So that's really good to hear from you that the group is very down to earth, very relaxed, non-judgmental, supportive, and it's so great to be a part of that.
Oh, when you say non-judgmental, that is just an understatement. People are just amazing on these calls, and like I said, they care for each other. And I just couldn't believe how quickly I just fell in love with being on those calls. And that's been a big part of my success. And if you don't think you're a person that would like that, I'd say try it. Just try it, see. And if you don't care for it, you record them, and we can listen to them later. And so you can still be part of that community as far as listening in, and that you're just not participating, but it really, really does help to jump on those calls. And you don't have to say a word. I mean, you can just say, hi, I'm just here to listen, and that's okay too. So
yeah, and of course we provide outside support too, to make sure that everybody gets what they need. But I'm glad that you brought that up. And now you know what you know, and you're so glad that you did the program, changed your life. But were there any hesitancies or kind of just concerns before you started? I can't really remember. Did you have anything?
Well, cost was one.
Sure.
And, and I think that is probably something that just comes to mind right away. But when we look back at it, both my husband and I say it's the best money we've ever spent. When I keep going back to that first appointment with my dietitian, but I got absolutely no help. And that 1 hour visit was billed to my insurance for $800. And I mean, the amount you will learn on this program, and and the success I know you'll achieve. If you do the plan, you will achieve your goals. The amount of success in that, it's priceless. I mean, you can't put a price on that. You really can't. And I don't regret for a second that I signed up. And, I was a little nervous. And the other thing about this is, I saw you on Instagram. I didn't know you. And there are a lot of people on Instagram. You weren't the only one. But there was something about you. I mean, it was like you were in that doctor's office with me when you talked about how the doctor might just, give you the prescription and say, well, come on back in 3 months. And it's like, that's exactly how I felt. I felt just left hung out to dry. And I love my doctor, but in that case, I just felt a little, lost. And so, yeah, I just feel like it is, you have gone beyond my expectations. And so just think about what you would just, imagine to be what you would get out of it. And just, it's way, way better than that. It really is. So, what I didn't know, I'm just amazed at what I've learned on this program. So
yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I know it can be difficult to invest in yourself as far as health goes, and a lot of people feel that way because there's also a lot of unknowns with health
Right.
going into something like this. So I'm happy to hear your perspective on all of that. Is there anything else that you want to share with everyone that might help them making their decision?
Just do it. I don't know. I can't really. I mean, I could go on and on and on with all the benefits that this program has given me, and I really do feel like you have saved my life. And I just, I don't want anyone else to panic and feel like, oh, what am I going to do? Or look back later and say, oh, I wish I had done it, because it's, this program is available to you and you will not be disappointed. You will not, if you've done Weight Watchers or any of these other plans, it's so different, but yet it's easy. Like when I saw you on Instagram, you gave your formula basically, eat protein, eat fiber and carbs, but balance them. And I thought, she's giving away her secret sauce. I can't believe it. And all these other people were like, they really got you, strung along, and then all of a sudden click here to find out more, that kind of thing. But you were just putting it all out there. And I thought, oh my goodness. And yet there's so much more to it. There's so much, it's very simple. And I'm not trying to make it too simplified, but honestly, once you figure it out, it just becomes second nature. It really does. And life is so enjoyable. You will not dread those invitations to go to a party or go out to eat because you think you won't be able to enjoy some of the, goodies that, are spread out in front of you, or there won't be anything to eat at the restaurant. I have not found a single restaurant that I can't, enjoy something really, really good. So it's very hard. I know I'm not supposed to, when you want, you don't want to go out to eat too much just because you don't like you told me once, you don't know exactly what they're putting in. So, but once in a while, it doesn't hurt to go out, enjoy life, and celebrating life with other people.
Yeah, absolutely. It's fun that you say, it can be so simple and it can feel so simple. And you're right. I mean, we need to take a deep dive, and there's a lot. The body is complex, but when we can really learn in an efficient way and simplify that, it's a game changer. Alongside, of course, the personalized plan and all of that. But
right. I mean, it is not, just that, those three things, balance these three food groups. No, it's not just that. But I just thought, for anybody that, just wants to start, working on themselves, start there, and then you will be amazed at what you learn when you sign up. So it's it's been a good thing. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, thank
And my
you.
family really appreciates it. You know, when we talk about Megan around here, it's always you. So they know they know who we're talking about. And so yeah, it's just you've become a part of our family.
Oh, I love it. That's so sweet. Well, I'm so happy to help. I'm so happy to, help you bring that from 9.6 to 5.6, but
Yeah.
also make such an impact in your day today and see that transformation alongside you. So thank you for sharing all of this, Robin.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you for everything. So
Yeah, absolutely.